What's up guys, Lunesta here once again, and in this video I'll show you a very underrated and fun strat. Taming beefaloes. Yes, I know what you're thinking. But beefaloes are only good for carrying the suspicious marbles. Taming is too hard. Beefaloes require too much resources. I know, I hear that all the time. And I am gonna be busting these myths in this video, and I'm gonna prove to you that you can start taming beefles from day 3 and even 1 if you're lucky. But first, I'm gonna tell you why you should try this strategy in the first place. Do you know that I'm mainly gonna be talking about the ordinary tendency, which is the beefle that gives you 50 damage, but with the war setup you can do up to 66 damage. That is almost the damage of a dark sword. And that's the first reason, the damage. This is exceptionally good for characters like Wes and Wendy because their damage penalty doesn't affect the beefalo, so they can potentially do more damage than the dark sword. But the ordinary is still very good for any character, with the exception of WX, Wolfgang, and Wigfrid. 2. You can save a lot of resources. On top of having an amazing damage, it can infinitely attack. So forget about getting a shadow manipulator, farming nightmare fuel, living logs or dark swords, or finding the lunar island early, and never worry about the weapon durability. The beefalo also tanks for you, so that means armor is almost unnecessary. So no more usage of resources for armor. Also, you will only need healing for fighting bosses. All of those things not only benefit you, but mainly your team, because now everyone has more resources. Your friends will be very happy about that. 3. You can wear equipment while riding the beefalo. This is insanely good. That means instead of wearing a football helmet, you can wear any hat you want, even during the fights. Fighting in the night? Just equip your lantern. No need for luminescence. The light is better and you can keep your backpack. 4. No concerns about the weather or seasons. Are you worrying about freezing in the winter because you have to wear armor to fight? Just wear full insulation during summer or winter and this boy will thank for you. Also, you will never have to worry about wetness in fights anymore, given that you can wear the umbrella or just the umbrella. That also makes you immune to move special attack because now you won't drop your weapon. 5. His speed. No one can be as fast as this guy with the Glossamer saddle, except for WX. And you can get him really early, like day 2 or 3, so that means no concerns about finding a walking cane, since you have a speed hack from the start. And as everyone knows, this is really helpful for carrying the pieces, but it also makes the piggyback viable because it does not slow your beefalo. So it's almost as good as the claw sack, but without all the work to get it. So in short, you have 1000 health, 6.8 health regen, once 10 seconds, a free luminescence, infinite dark sword, a free semi-Krampus sack, extra slot for hats, and weather immunity with speed hack. What about the cost? And this is the best part. Just a few twigs of grass a day. You heard it right. No need for dragon pies, no need for 64 goddamn cut grass or 32 twigs. You hear those values all the time from guys, but they're just completely absurd. And here's why. There are 3 basic aspects you should pay attention in beefalo gaming. The first one is domestication. This is gonna give him the tendency stat you desire and additional riding time, and you will set a minimum obedience for your beefalo once he reaches 100% domestication. There are 2 ways to get domestication. You can either feed him so his hunger points never drop below 0, or you can ride him. So instead of just feeding him and making him a liability, you can just use him and get all the benefits I mentioned. Furthermore, if you just feed him and leave him all alone, you get the default or the budget default, making the whole process useless and costly because you need to fight to get the ordinary or ride to get the rider. The domestication process takes 20 days without the brush, so if you start taming him really early, you can have him 100% domesticated before the deer flops. There is no reason not to ride the beetle, therefore domestication is not a problem. 2. Obedience. Now this is the stat you should pay attention to. Obedience is what lets you put a saddle and ride your beefalo. Each time he's fed, it's raised by 10% up to 100% obedience. At 40%, it lets you put a saddle, and at 50%, it lets you ride a beefalo. And it doesn't matter what food you give, it will only give 10% obedience. So it's much more effective to feed him cheap items like grass or twigs rather than dragon pies. Because even if you have a fat beefalo, his obedience still drops, only a bit slower. The third aspect is hunger. This one is the most misunderstood. The only reason you would feed him for the hunger is in the occasion you can't be riding him and you still want the fastest taming possible, so that you still get the taming points while doing other things. However, he only loses or gains these points once 10 seconds. So if you just quickly do your things and get up in the beefalo again, you won't lose anything. You can also park him in your salt lake, which is really cheap to make, only costs 2 boards and 4 niter, and not lose any taming points even if you don't feed him for a while. But be careful when feeding him. If you overfeed him, he will lose 30% obedience and 1% domestication. So if you feed him like 4 or 5 dragon pies, which is over 300 hunger, not only you probably overfeed him in the moment you give him the dragon pie, but you won't be able to feed him anymore to raise his obedience or to heal him. This is why dragon pies are a horrible idea, and that's why you should manage obedience instead of hunger. What you should be feeding him is blue mushrooms. Yes, this is the food you should be looking for when you want to fight. Some people may argue that the dragon pie is good for fighting because it will heal 160 HP due to the beefalo's natural ability of healing 4 times more. But the blue mushrooms will give you way more effective healing and obedience because they fill up less hunger than the dragon pie. So let's compare both foods. You can feed him up to 5 dragon pies and that will give you 800 HP and 50% obedience. Now that is close to the maximum of what you can give him before overfeeding. That will make the bosses a lot harder, because now you can't raise his obedience or heal him without overfeeding. On the other hand, with the blue mushrooms, he's allowed to be fed 30 times, which will give you 2400 HP and 300% obedience. This is a way better alternative and way cheaper. And instead of using the living laws for shadow manipulator and dark swords, you can just use it for mushroom farms. So what do you need? According to my experience, you need 13 cut grass or 12 twigs or 12 berries or like 11 juice berries a day in order to never have his obedience drop below 50%, allowing you to ride him anytime you want. But always remember to pick up a little bit more just for safety, because he loses obedience by taking hits. Thanks for the attention guys. I'm still learning video editing, but I hope you got a hang of the idea. This video is the first part of my series on the Beastmaster playstyle, which is really great for West, but it's still useful for most characters. Next video, I'm gonna be making a full tutorial on what you should do in your first year. See ya!